Hello everyone, and welcome back to another live stream here on the twitch.tv/the Xisuma. Today we're talking about 1.20.1, which was announced yesterday. There's a video on the main channel about it. There's videos on the Minecraft channel about it. The whole community is talking about it. The auto crafter, the copper bulbs, copper doors, trapdoors, grates, and these blocks which only seem to render when I hold them in my hand. Oh, and then I can't scroll from one to the next. I mean, you can kind of see it a little bit closer there. These are not the official textures. This is just something that Scar showed me, and then I handed it over to Dev, who turned it into a resource pack, and then we encountered this weird thing where these planks and other blocks just refuse to render as... Wait a minute. That's... Whoa, 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 whoa! Hang on. Is it chunk? Is there a chunk border here? Wait. I don't think it matters. Why does it place in some... Oh my god, the mystery is here. Ah! Oh! The heck? Why the heck would that happen? That makes no sense. Also, like, a good thing I placed it down on that block. That is so weird. That is the weirdest. Oh! I know what it is now. I know what it is. Chat has figured it out. So I removed every single pack except this one, because I got fed up of removing packs. Now I was thinking, because it's below, it can't obviously interact with what else is on there. Oh my god. So it was because of its you know, and what if just one of them had placed... What if I just happened to get one of them right? Then all would have been good in the hood. You know? That's hilarious. Thing is, I know I'm gonna forget to change that back after. I made some notes actually, and I didn't open them up, so I'm gonna go put that on my notes. Welcome to all the peeps tuning in, by the way. Okay, so my post stream is to because usually like you're halfway into recording a Hermitcraft episode, and then you're like, oh, my resource pack. Oh no, what does that mean? Usually it's not a big deal as you think. Here from Twitter, thanks for posting. Jewel, welcome to the stream. Happy to post, to let you know, it's what it's there for. Dev says, Xisuma, you don't know how much I'm currently laughing. I can imagine. Yeah, no, this is pretty hilarious. The thing is, like, why did it affect the terracotta blocks as well? There isn't a terracotta modification, is there? There might be, I can't remember. Well, I've learned that despite putting the pack on top, something from below can affect it. There you go. Hero Blender says, just got home, you timed this perfectly. Wonderful. I timed it just for you, Hero Blender. Just for you. Can't start the stream until Hero Blender's home. Anyway, peeps, the idea today is just to have a chat about 1.20.1. So variated terracotta is also a thing in vanilla tweaks. I could have said something totally... I could have just said, you know... Let's see. Make them... Alright. Make them stone. Make them quartz blocks. And all of this could have been avoided. Oh well. Late, is the snapshot out already? Is this just a sampler? This is just a sampler, if you want to call it that. Snapshot is... you know, probably not going to be around for a couple of weeks, I'd imagine. So yeah, we got the blocks here to kind of talk about them in spirit a little bit. The big thing I want to discuss, though, is the crafter block over here, which looks so cool. This is going to change everything in a really great way. But I will say, I don't think auto crafting should be in the game from day one. I think the game evolves with its player base. There's always going to be new people coming to the game, but now Minecraft has a large a large player base of air quotes veterans, like, I think it makes sense to over time evolve the game. And this is of course why there is absolutely no reason to keep the inventory exactly the same as it has been for 15 years. You know, they added one slot in 15 years. That's it. There are a few other things that have been added, like little shortcuts and tweaks and stuff. What's the recipe for the autocrafter? That's a good question. I don't think it'll be anything expensive. I think it'll be probably a crafting bench in the middle, some redstone and iron. And I don't think there's anything in this game that particularly scales well when you want to make crafting difficult. So I don't picture it having, I don't know, something from the deep dark in it, right? I think they're going to just, like, open it up. I don't think they want to put it behind, like, something that's difficult to get, because you're probably going to want to use a lot of these. DJ Eccles, thank you so much for 62 months of support. TR7ZW coming in for 10 months. Just swinging in to say, I can't wait for autocrafting. Me too. I'm going to be talking about it a lot today. Bala J says, crafting bench plus piston plus hopper. It could be something like that. I think it would make sense to make it... Maybe... I don't think they should introduce an item just for it to be crafted with something else. But I kind of like the idea of, in order to craft it, you have, like, maybe several layers of crafting. Not too many, but, you know, the idea of putting a hopper, a piston with it, that means you've got to go craft those first. Because one of the things maybe you want to do once you make your auto-crafter is, like, auto-craft the auto-crafter. I don't know, seems like a fun idea. I've thought a lot about this. I've been reading stuff online. I've been putting my head in it. This is probably going to be the bulk of the show today. We're going to start off with the mob vote. I have something prepared, and I want to make sure that it works correctly. Looks like it's working correctly. And then we're going to switch to this one, yeah. The winners of the mob vote. The tough golem. The copper golem. Oh wait, did you not watch my video all the way to the end? Did you not know they also announced these mobs one as well? I'm trolling. I'm messing with you. That was cheeky. Sorry. Sorry about that. Now, it's been pointed out that these blocks are like the golems, and there's going to be a new environment which they could be perfect for. Now, I don't think Mojang are going to add them, but if they did, they would win some serious rep points with the community, okay? Because parts of the community have been up in arms again about this mob vote stuff. I'm totally not with it. I'm totally not with this hashtag cancel the vote or put all three of them in. It's honestly, it's starting to resemble something along the lines of maybe, let's say, a spoilt child. Now, I'm not calling people that participate in this spoilt children. I'm just saying that a bad idea has gotten into people's heads, I think. I think we need to, like, assess why we're shouting about this stuff. Yeah, Dev says, the cancel the vote thing kind of makes me sad to be a part of the community. Yeah, it was, for me, it was one of those moments where I'm like, this goes a little too far. Now, in the past, I have been a bit of a moaner towards Mojang. You know, I'm someone who's open to change. My thoughts and opinions will change with time. And those changes will be based on multiple different factors. One of them being, what is the feeling within the community? And the feeling has just become a little sad and sour for many different reasons. I don't think we should argue from a place of like, oh, but what about this thing and that thing? Because we've had some bad incidents with, you know, the whole chat reporting thing, for example. Just take each thing as it comes. And when it comes to the mob vote, we've got to say, like, what is it? It is obviously a way for them to market the game. It's also a way for the audience to participate in that. And it's a form of participation that can create disappointment. You know, I think the disappointment that's on Mojang's side is that if they're going to give us options, these options need to be solid so that when they implement their ideas, the community's happy with it. That's on them, but what's on us is is us filling our heads with all these fantastical ideas about what the mobs could be. The armadillo is not going to change the game, I don't think. It's literally just going to add in some wolf armor, and we're probably going to find out, you know, through you craft it with the scoot that you get from the armadillo, so you farm it, get some of this stuff, you make your wolfy armor, you put it on your little pet compadre, and then it hasn't changed the game in the slightest, right? But for people that love pets, which often tends to be kids and stuff, they'll want to keep these little suckers alive, you know? They want to have them on an adventure with them. And if you're young, I think combat is going to be much more difficult for you. So keeping these alive, good for them. But it's not going to change the game. It's not going to be, oh wow, this is so amazing. And I think when we get these options for what's in the mob vote, we think these mobs are going to change the game. So, you know, that's on us. Like, we need to manage our expectations better. The mob that won the vote was the armadillo, and as I've just said, I don't think it's going to be that impressive. If the crab won the update, we could get way too invested in this idea that reach is going to change the game. It might just be that, yeah, it gives you a bit more reach, but then you got to put it in your offhand, or you got to carry it around with you or something, and then at some point in time you just forget about using it. And it's like, actually, do you know what? I'm used to placing blocks. Like one of the things is, what happens if you can place blocks further away, but then you can't break them? So if you're forever going back and forth. Now, if you want to build above and around you, reach will feel quite handy for building roofs and stuff, but then it could be equally annoying if you then have to pillar up to break the block that you just placed. So these things, like, we have to not get our expectations high, and Mojang need to make sure their ideas are really solid, like, you know, they really come through, and I'm not sure that either of those things are oscillating correctly. Dbuck42, thank you for 4 months. The Real John Jr., thank you for 600 bits. The mob vote felt very rigged. The one combat-related mob happened to win as they announce a combat update. Seems off. I don't think so. How is it a combat? I guess because of doggy armor. You're overthinking it, dude. Like, there's no suspicion there. I really don't see. I don't think they would rig it. Like, that would just be sad. I don't see it like that. And we can't speak. You can't be suspicious of Mojang. Like it's a game. Why would they go through the hassle of deceiving an audience? I did notice there was some talk of there being a potential exploit in the voting that meant there could have been some fake votes. And with these things, like, I'd always say, don't get invested until the dust has settled. If there is some form of exploit that was exploited when it came to voting, wait until it's been investigated, because sometimes it turns out that these things happen. Someone finds an exploit. I bet you loads of people would have been poking around. I know what I was like as a teenager, right? You know, I probably, if I were a teenager being the person I was back then, I probably would have had a little poke around at how the voting works and looked at, like, you know, what's on the web page and seeing if there's, you know, because I used to play games where you could exploit certain things by looking at the code and stuff. So, like, wait until the dust has settled to find out, like, what actually happened, because they're probably every single vote, someone somewhere has found a way to you know, find a exploit and exploit it. But sometimes the impact might just be they managed to vote 10 times. And that's it. Or it might have been coordinated and 1,000 votes were faked. We don't know. So, like, don't get up in arms about it. Wait until it's been properly investigated, okay? Because I saw this discussion, I was just like, I can see how this turns into another drama again. Someone's exposing that there was a potential exploit, and then people run away with it as if, oh, you know, Mojang aren't good enough, and now the mob vote's been ruined, and it's like, wait until it's been investigated and the dust has settled, so you have an idea of what actually happened. Because the impact could be 10 votes were faked or 10,000. And how many people voted? Maybe 10 million. So, like, what does that mean? Undercarbonated, thank you ever so much for your prime. Greatly appreciated. Hope you're enjoying the stream, the waffle, the chat. So, what should the mob vote be about? It should be about having some light-hearted fun. Don't get too invested in what gets added to the game. Just realize it is what it is. You know, we might get a really cool mob. It might be a bit of a flop. Don't get too invested in it, okay? Then for this whole idea that, these ideas are never going to be a part of Minecraft again. The amount of things you could put into this game is basically infinite, right? I think finding reasons to be upset, got to ask yourself, is it worth feeling that way? Is this really what it's about? I think Mojang are just trying to create something engaging and fun. Here's some ideas that we've come up with. Which one do you want in? Right? I bet behind the scenes, there are so many more ideas they come up with that get thrown out, and we don't get upset about that, right? So they're giving us a reason to participate. And can you tell me how many other games out there have this level of participation? We have developers that actively engage with the audience, openly develop it through snapshots. They have a feedback site. They take input from us. This doesn't mean, by the way, it doesn't mean just because you commented that, oh, I think that, dragons should be tameable and you should have pet dragons, doesn't mean that they then add it because they listen to the community. It means that they listen and they take in your ideas, but they have the ultimate say. They are the game designers. They have the vision and the plan. They know what's the arc of Minecraft's development for the next so many years, okay? And so they listen, but a lot of your ideas might not fit in with their plans, or there might be technical reasons they can't do certain things. The real John Jr. says, but they screwed up the Phantoms. They did. They absolutely did, and that's one I won't let go. They screwed up Phantoms. I think it was Ant Venom's video, or someone's I was watching recently, suggested a handful of ideas on how to improve the Phantom that seemed relatively easy to implement, and could just make them less of a hassle straight away. I really think they should come back to the Phantom and just make some subtle changes. Just so you're not constantly harassed. That's it. Because it's so static. It's so like, when a Phantom attacks you, you know, okay, I haven't slept in a bed for a few days, and now they're just going to keep attacking me over and over again. Keep attacking me and not letting you go. So they could be better. But as I was pointing out, the developers of the game, they know so much more about this game than we do. They know about its plans for the future. They're not just developing features as we see them, they're developing the underlying code. They have to think about how this stuff works long term, and so it's a much bigger deal than just adding this thing or just adding that thing. Alright, so as a community, we need to remember these things, and we need to be a little bit more lighthearted about what Minecraft Live and the mob vote is. It's a lighthearted thing. And seeing some of the comments and the memes that got shared, like the images, I saw some on Twitter, really disheartening for me. Some of it was quite distasteful, and I think what's annoying is that it's over something to me that should be really harmless. It's not a big deal, and just some of the images that were getting shared around about revolution and destroy Mojang and all of this, it's like, if this is all just a joke to the people that are doing it, you've got to think about what it looks like on the outside too. It just really felt sad. Like I said earlier, it's like a spoilt child. And I'm not saying anyone participating in it is. I'm saying it's a bad idea, and we got the wrong way of thinking about stuff if we're, doing this. When you got millions of people involved, there are always goofballs, says 0 Point Bob. Yeah, and again, vocal minority. This could be less than 1% of people, but because they're incentivized to be loud, we see it a lot. So, could be not a lot of people at all that are doing it compared to everyone who's enjoying what this is. Iron Juice, thanks for resubscribing for 43 months. Greatly appreciated, my dude. Thank you so much for your support. So, we were... I just want to... Well, actually, I think I can rely on this working now. You can see the golems, right? So, we were about to jump into some stuff that I got over here. What was that image? Oh, yeah, that's the auto crafter image. Tough golem, copper golem. Okay, if Mojang have this, like, hidden away that they're going to introduce these mobs at the same time, because that's the theme of the trial chambers, 2 thumbs up. I think people will love that. But again, we've put our imaginations into these mobs. We've made them the most amazing thing that will change the game in our heads. That's not what they are. They'll probably be little cute little additions to the game. That tends to be a lot of what Minecraft's about. Cute these days. Ferrandos, thank you ever so much for gifting a sub to Adowns1978 and Carl the Pirate. We always appreciate gifted subs around here. I'm sure Carl and Adowns will say thanks in the chat. And thank you for your generosity. Crappy Toast says, I don't think it would happen, but it would be nice. I don't think it's going to happen either, but, you know, it's been pointed out. The type of confirmation that Mojang made as well, I think you can technically read it in a way where it's like, maybe they left the door open for this to be different. Oh yeah, I had this video like lined up, but like I've been waffling just in F5, but yeah, the armadillo one. These little animations, I really love the mini art style and the little mini creatures. I feel like I want to see this somewhere, like maybe a little mini Minecraft game, I don't know, like a mini puzzle game where these little cute things, you move them around or whatever. I just feel like this pixel art style is great for what it does, but it feels like I would enjoy being in that environment, especially with the stuff that we see later on here. What are we talking about? Oh, does it? There it is. There it is. Let's go. Wow, they skipped over that quickly, didn't they? So these little environments with like the blocks laid out, I could happily play a game that looks like that. You know, they're putting all this money into Legends and Dungeons did all right. Minecraft Earth obviously didn't work out. Legends is going to be axed. I don't know, it's a matter of time for how long. But like a 2D game like this, with this pixel art, if you can come up with a good concept that Minecrafters would like, this is just like waiting to happen, it feels like. You've got an incredible aesthetic right there, you know? A side-scrolling platformer, says William. Yeah, I feel like to make it Minecrafty, you should be able to pick up and put down the blocks again, which will probably make it a lot like Terraria. But if they can think of a way to be like, okay, let's not make the objective or the play style so that it parallels Terraria, which has often been called a 2D Minecraft, they can come up with like a different new objective or something, then, you know, give everyone a new but similar experience, and you could have something cool in your hands. If you're already paying for Adobe, you probably already have it. Not sure what you mean by that. Not sure what that means. Picking up blocks would be a nice twist on a typical 2D side-scrolling game. Yeah, I guess it would. There's probably one out there, but I know what you mean. I can't recall ever playing a side-scrolling platformer where you pick up the blocks. Maybe you manipulate the environment. Probably because, you know, if you get to pick and place exactly where you want, you just create the path of least resistance and make everything easy. I feel like Minecraft is best experienced in 3D, and thankfully at this point a lot more people have access to the compute power to run 3D games. Yeah, this doesn't have to be Minecraft again. I'm just saying, like, they want to create a spin-off. They've got the aesthetic, and, you know, it resembles Mario a little bit. You know, you can make a platformer. Maybe something like Little Big Planet. There's the idea, right? If anyone's ever played Little Big Planet, that's the right game I'm thinking of. It came out on the PS3. That was a platformer where you could make your own levels, and maybe that's the way that makes sense for Minecraft's creativity. Anyway, that's one of the videos we have. The other one is over here. This is all what we saw yesterday. I'm in quite a talky mood, apparently, so I think I'm just going to let this play and read chat. I was going to jump around the video, but we might as well watch it again together. I was really stoked. I thought the whole show was a lot better. They did the thing where they plug other types, other games that people are less interested in, the DLCs and stuff, although, I don't know. I just know I'm not interested in the DLCs. But the shorter nature of the show, it just felt like a lot better, the pacing of it and stuff. Thoughts on Autocrafter, says Claw. Well, that's the big thing we're going to talk about, so I'm kind of leaving that one for now, because there's so much to say about it. Eckler Guest, thank you ever so much for 19 months. Unfortunately, Mojang has confirmed the golems aren't coming. Yeah, in the language that they used, as I've heard it, you could kind of look at it like it's open for interpretation, but I don't think they're adding it. Anyway, this structure, by the way, it's going to generate in the overworld. Made of copper blocks and tough blocks. Now, I've seen some people point out that when they go through the doors, they're holding axes. and that the axe might open the door. But I kind of realised if you think about how doors work, you can hold an axe and open it anyway. So I don't think they're going to make it work like that. But if you could only open it when holding an axe, yeah, maybe a nice little thing to add to the game. But yeah, these blocks look cool, and I find the combination that's already here kind of got me a little excited. I like building in interiors. I like building these sorts of rooms. That's where I think I had the most fun with building in Minecraft, even though I always push myself to do exteriors. And I really like this color combination. I could see myself happily like reusing it. It also, I think, suits that you've got a little more control over the light levels here because of the way the copper bulbs work. So you can have a little bit of ambiance, you know, a little more darkness, a little more control over the lightning. Dev says, best thing about the copper bulbs is that they require no redstone. Yeah, you turn them on with redstone though, right? So they kind of do, I think, unless they're on by default. That's something we can pause here for, actually. So, the loot in these buildings, I would not get excited about. I doubt they're going to add anything special into the game. Maybe the loot is like you pick up some copper. That's another thing I was thinking about, by the way. I thought, now they've added all these new copper blocks, like, are they going to add a way to farm more copper? Well, the block is, the structure is full of copper blocks. But then that encourages people to rip them apart. I don't know. I used to really like that aspect of Minecraft. Like, used to go to strongholds and rip them apart to get the mossy stone bricks. But eventually they became craftable. So, I think this might encourage players to strip this stuff out. Because getting copper on this scale right here, like, would take the average player, I think, quite a lot of hassle. Let's go back into the world. Let's go back into the world. We got the copper bulbs over here. Now, as I understand it, as it's been explained, and as I found out today, okay, we want some redstone components. This thing could be a T flip-flop, right? It'll revolutionize redstone, but apparently there was already something very similar anyway. So let's get a lamp, which has been retextured. Right, so give it a signal, and that turns off. Give it a signal, and it turns on. Now that's a T flip-flop, and I wasn't aware of that design, and that is a pretty cool design, actually. That's a pretty cool design, relatively small. Now the idea with this block, and we're going to need a lever here because we've got to use our imagination a bit. The idea with this block is that, you know, so you power it, and then it's on, and it's in its on state. Am I getting my wires crossed here? I'm just wondering. Am I thinking about the wrong block? This is everything, right? With exception to, I think we get this in the stair form and that one in the wall form. That's all the blocks they added, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the correct... Right, okay, so yeah, it's the bulb. I don't think we saw any bulbs turned off in the video. We're going to have to look out for that, actually. Because this would obviously now look different, right? And then, you know, you press it and now you've got an output. Press it and now the output is off. So that's slightly better than this, but only by one signal strength. And maybe you could argue that it makes it more compact if you don't need air above it. No bulbs off in the video. Yeah, that's what I noticed. Or I think I noticed. Let's go back to it. Let's go back to it. I'm going to put Chrome back on. Yeah, so the idea of stripping the lights is kind of cool. I think you're going to see just a heck of a lot of farming of copper. Because you want to get things... Oh, this one works the other way around. So I guess you want to get it fully aged to get the dimmest lighting. If it worked the other way around... I don't think it matters what way around that is. Anyway. What's the other thing? Crafting recipes for the new blocks? Let's pause again. I've actually got these written down on my notepad, but my notepad isn't on my screen. So, like, what are the crafting recipes of these going to be? Now, I was just wondering, if you make everything out of copper ingots, is it more of a pain because you have to go and craft all these different types and then age them? Or is it more of a pain if you just age the base block, right? You age all of these all the way through, and then you use these aged blocks, or whatever stage they're at, to craft the variants. Stonecutter, says the Xandermander. Let's think about that. So, the way it currently works, yeah, is that you cut to the different type. Maybe that's how it works for these then, you just cut them into the different shape. I think that probably makes the most sense, especially considering they've already started on that path, right? If I get a crafting bench up... Yeah, you craft it with the blocks, not the ingots. Okay. But that one's with ingots. If I'd have remembered that, you know, there maybe be less to say, but... The way that the other ones, like, doors are crafted like this, trapdoors like that. So, does that mean you're going to use ingots for some? I can see it just being a bit of a pain if you have more block types that you want to use in the aging process. I think it makes sense to have these blocks you do all your aging with, and then it gives you access to everything else, right? I think that's important. Because then your aging setups, your farms, whatever it is you've got going on, it's just more stuff, more variety, and... Usually you're not going to age the exact amount you need, right? You're going to... I put the ones at the doors at the back slightly off. Don't know why. Just did. Got some questions in chat that have been highlighted. Goo Milker says, if you're supposed to redo the dungeon, doesn't it make sense, in my opinion, to tear it apart? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, you're totally right. Like, they built it on one hand to encourage us to come back, but then it's full of a material where we want to rip it apart. So, you know. In the village, there were copper bulbs that were turned off, I'm pretty sure. Hey, we're going to see the village in a bit, so we'll check that out. Also, weren't the copper grate blocks in the April Fool's snapshot this year as part of the self-generating structure on the moon? There was some sort of grate structure, wasn't there? I wonder if I can find that. Actually, do you know what? I'm not going to jump around to that. If someone wants to look it up and confirm it. There was something. I don't think it had the same texture as this. I think it was similar, but not the same. I also wondered if those were as accurate as we saw in the video. Oh, yeah, they're actually pretty accurate. Okay, anyway, let's continue with the video. Oh, I forgot to turn it on, so let's turn it on. I went back and looked. They're pretty accurate, the grates. So yeah, around where the spawner is, some of the... You can see that some of them are quite dim, the copper bulbs. I kind of talk about it in the video a bit. I didn't exactly mention it in mine, but like one of them's going to go off and strip them. So they put light sources right next to the spawner. Thing is, you probably come with torches and just place one anyway. I think it might be a good idea if these trial spawners maybe ignored light levels to some extent. Because if you can spam light to take care of them, you know, because that's how you disable a regular spawner. Because the way they brought it up about changing the lamps with the axe kind of suggested that's a way to defeat the spawner. And like a lot of spawners can just be disabled quickly by spamming torches, so be interesting to see what happens there. And then they get a prize. Those loot tables, by the way, can be configured with MBT, which means, like, highly configured. You could create a loot table that refers to other loot tables, so you might get this item, you might get that item. Basically, because they do everything with MBT, you just get this depth of flexibility, which is really cool. X, are they using replay mod for those shots? They might be. The movement of that camera is having the smooth cam on and slightly nudging your mouse. I recognise that. There's definitely just a third person recording here. Otherwise, that's a serious, like, level of effort. In fact, even the action, now that I think about it, even the action here, like, this looks a lot like having smooth cam on in Spectator. And just, like, moving around and pitching the mouse a bit as you, like, move about. Like, I feel like the jerkiness is very similar to just pressing WASD. So that's as a PC player who's done camera work, you can kind of spot that. Here in the village, we get some copper bulbs. You don't know if they're on or off because it's daytime, I think. Is this a different texture? Will they have a different texture when they are off? You know? Because they kind of look the same as the ones we've already seen. So are they on, are they off? We don't really know because it's daytime. Explaining the video, the spawner has a fixed spawn base on number of players. Light doesn't matter. I'm not sure I interpreted it that way. They explained that the amount of mobs spawning scales to the player. I don't recall it being mentioned in the same breath as light. They're off because they're oxidized. Right. What I'm getting at is that the just before we get into the autocraft a bit, the bulbs can be turned on and off, okay? So how do we know if it's on or off? Because that looks like the same texture that we saw a moment ago. It's daytime in the village. We can't therefore see shadows. So unless there's obviously a different texture, I guess I'm saying, like, how do we know at this point? Because they just might be on, and we haven't seen the off state. Look at the pillar of the bulbs. Oh, well spotted. Oh man, I did not see that before. There it is. Yeah. Oh, look. That's totally another block there. I didn't spot that. Well done. Oh boy, and on the left there, I was really quite focused on like picking up stuff. I think the problem for me is that I'm always in like content brain mode, so it's like I'm intentionally looking for that stuff, but that sometimes gives you a bit of tunnel vision maybe. There they are again, just like up in the top area behind them. Yeah, look, a few over there. Only the fully oxidized ones so far. But yeah. Oh, I've been shared an image of the copper. Thanks for that, Lucaro. Yeah, it's they did introduce copper sleeves, but they were quite different. Yeah, the thing is, Mojang developed like a whole bunch of stuff and test around with it and experiment and discuss and, you know, pursue certain ideas and not so much other ones. So it could be that the idea stemmed from that. They maybe went back to it and said, you know what, that stuff kind of looked cool. Maybe we'll change it a bit and then put it in with this other stuff we're doing with copper. So it could be that behind the scenes they went back to the April Fool's stuff. So yeah, this is obviously the most exciting part for me. This just feels like a home run win. I can't see how they can mess this up. I just can't see it. Everything they've shown us seems like they've done it in the right way. There'd have to be something really odd and strange about it that would stop it from being great. They are everywhere, says Kitty. Now that I see them, yeah, they're in the background a lot. To be fair, they don't put them up close in any of these shots so far, but they are in the background. Yep, the autocrafter is looking good and very much the type of thing Psycraft people were asking for. It's been a common suggestion for the last 12 plus years, maybe even as far back as in the beginning when crafting was first introduced. People ask for it. You're never gonna have a shortage of people asking for stuff to be in the game, right? Like, everyone can use their imagination. But I was thinking a lot about when are you going to use this, and my initial path of where I thought you might use this, like, made me realize, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to use it in a different way. But I'll share all of that with you in a moment. This, by the way, I thought this was kind of pointless at first, but then I got it. I realized after what it is. Okay, so like, if you feed iron, like tons of iron, I'm assuming the iron is probably hidden. They should have shown the hoppers, but if you feed iron into those crafters over and over again, you're never going to run out of armor to dispense onto a player, is kind of the idea. This gave me the idea that maybe what we used to call respawn rooms, right? It was a concept introduced by EFO a long time ago. When you died in the game, you kind of needed new gear over again. You would just instantly be in like a little room with all your items and stuff. And so I used to make a contraption because I kind of like saw his idea and took it to the next level. And it would equip you with the armor, and it would give you like a full set of torches, weapons, food. But this is before enchanting, or maybe around the time when enchanting was kind of like very new. These days though, we're so overpowered, we don't tend to respawn. Everyone's got netherite. Well, I'm talking about hermits here now maybe, but like you got your netherite, you got your mending, you got all these enchantments, you're really strong, you're OP. You don't really need the respawn room. But with auto crafting, there's much less work for you to do, and it kind of made me feel like maybe, yeah, having a little respawn rune and it being easy to maintain because you've got auto crafting might make it a little more encouraging, so that when you respawn it automatically gives you stuff. Anyway, we got those copper blocks up here. Looking cool. I've only seen that stage though, not any of the other ones. Which makes me wonder again. We've been told that you can do the flip-flop thing, right, with redstone. But what if that's not actually correct? I mean, I assume the information we begin is communicated correctly, but like that other block, which isn't this one by the way. It's not that one. Like that might be stage like 0 of 5 or well, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But you know what I mean? Like, it might be if you scrape it too much, it goes to, like, that level. But that shouldn't be how it works. Dev says, was that tough wall? Yeah, as I said earlier, there's wall of this, and there's stairs of that. Also in the game. We got the basic blocks for now, just going to have a look at them and enjoy that. Okay, let's go back to the video. We now get to check out the breeze. I feel like this mob is probably not going to add too much to the game. I think it's going to be a fun fight, hopefully. I mean, that's the problem in Minecraft, is that fighting mobs, there's usually a way to cheese them. And if you got netherite gear and lots of good enchantments, you can be OP. Hopefully they can get a good, fun challenge out of this. Also, when I saw those slimes, right, I thought, oh, they're recording in a slime chunk, how typical. But I've seen other people say that the spawner is the thing that actually spawned them in the room. If they do that, it gives you another way to find slimes. You can find them in swamps, you can find them in slime chunks. I think that'll be okay. But sometimes when you add too many ways to do something, you kind of take away from the novelty of having to find a slime chunk or go to a swamp at a certain time of day, you know? Or night, should we say, you know, the moon cycle and all of that. Now, this thing interacting with redstone, I don't think it's the biggest deal ever, really. I don't think that's going to really revolutionize anything, because there's now skulk sensors, so you know if there's a player in the area, you can activate redstone. Doesn't seem to me like that one's going to change too much, honestly. You've forgotten about long time recharge, maybe 30 minutes. For the spawner, yeah. But look, you know, like if it spawns 2 or 3 big ones, you can get your hands on some slime balls, and then, you know, usually you don't need a crazy amount of slime blocks until you're in the stage of the game where you're doing a lot of farming for stuff, right? This just creates another way to get your hands on a few slime balls early on, perhaps, which I think's a good idea. Because I've played like quite a few seasons of Hermitcraft, which, you know, you see I play from the very start to the end of the game. And there's always this thing early on where you just need a few slimes at one point or another. Like, you need a sticky piston for a contraption. But then you got to go build the slime farm. And often they're a lot of work. And getting them from the swamp can be a bit tricky if the timing's not right. So having a spot like this where you can find some slimes might just be good. But again, I don't know if it's a slime chunk. I read somewhere... Oh, look, there's another one over there. That one's actually got, like, grass blocks. So that one's got, like, ice around it, so it spawns strays. Oh, wait a second. Another detail we spotted. So this one has... That is not a slime block. That, to me, looks like moss, but it's a bit murky. But moss would make sense for slime. So I reckon you could look at that, and I think it would be fair to say that's a slime spawner. Yeah. Huh. The breeze being immune to projectile damage would raise the the challenge level considerably. That actually sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Anyway, that's a cool discovery. So we discovered the copper lamps, which are actually quite obvious, and that we found 2 secrets today, peeps. 2 secrets. Some people have commented on the whole thing looking a bit bland, and that the structure might need a lot more to it. I could see that. They do look, you know, a little repetitive. It's like a nice new color combination, but if every room is like that, it might get a little bit on the dull side. Before we get into the crafting stuff, let's get some more questions from chat. Moss equals slime, ice equals stray. What else do we think? I think we've only seen 2, so it'd be a guessing game after that. X, do you agree with that? Auto crafting will revolve Minecraft like it revolved after the Elytra. Do you mean Revolution? It'll be a big change. How big? I'm not sure. It's going to replace the grind of crafting stuff. But then it will also streamline automation where you have to step in and craft as a player. So I was thinking about, for example, Pigman Farm, right? Where you get gold. Now, you get a lot of gold nuggets. You can get a crazy amount of gold nuggets. But then you've got to stand around and change them into ingots. I actually made some auto-crafting scripts to do this. This is something that the auto-crafter can just become a part of a contraption. So now when you've got a farm, you can make it into the thing that you actually want to get from the farm. So if you've got a kelp farm, you want to get kelp blocks, and it helps you with that. And then I think you got to think about, like, when you start to chain those things together, there might be some stuff that emerges that is quite OP. Not quite sure how yet. We'd be able to automate crafting of TNT. So stuff you do with TNT, maybe then TNT duping isn't as straightforward an option. Cybot is here saying autocraft ME system. Thank you for your 16 months, my dude. I don't think it's going to be that easy. That was one of the first things I was thinking about with the crafter, was big crafting systems, and I don't think it's going to be straightforward at all. Foofy32, thank you so much for 11 months. Oh man, it's been almost a year. I've been loving all the music and of course the Minecraft. Thank you for being fabulous. Also, very excited for 1.21. All the copper and all the crafter. Thank you, Foofy. I appreciate it. Also giving me an opportunity there to plug my own music. Yeah, this year, if you didn't know, put out a record. It's on Spotify if you go search Soulside Eclipse. If you go there on YouTube, though, you'll find I've been putting out some demos for new songs recently. So I think it's the exclamation mark in chat. It's written on the stream title, new music. 3 new demos that I've done recently. You can go check those out. All totally different styles of music. Anyway, Fennerang says, which farm plus Skelly spawner plus cobble gem equals auto dispenser maker? Yeah, it does. It does. That you know, that's a nice way to link things together. You don't have to have the cobblestone generator as well. You can just have a chest that you dump tons of cobble in, and then you get certain stuff back. So that might be another way that we interact with crafting, is that you just sort of dump items into a chest, and then you get a bunch of stuff out of it. Like you might have a little crafting station where you drop off, you know, your materials into a chest, and then this thing takes care of it. Yeah, the interface is that you have toggleable switches. I've totally picked the wrong type of glass, haven't I? Opportunity missed. I'm just gonna grab what we saw in the video because I'm so creative. What we want actually is, yeah, this is kind of handy actually. We can think about crafting recipes, you know. So, like, I don't think the toggleable nature here is going to be changeable other than through the UI. So whatever you want to craft, you've got to define the shape beforehand. So if you look at this, how many other recipes share that shape? Interestingly, the next one I picked does. So are you going to build a contraption that feeds in sticks, and then can also feed in 6 iron and 1 stick? I'm not so sure. There might be some use cases where, you know, if, like, what about this right here? You could have one of these in your base, and when you dump just a flat material into it, it crafts it for you. If you put ingots in, it'll create iron nuggets. It'd probably be handy if I had more stuff on me, although I can do this. Then you got the same thing again for, like, 2x2s. So you could have like your 2x2 and 3x3 auto crafter. So you dump in a bunch of sand, and it does this. Maybe that would be a good contraption if you can count. So you only let 4 blocks in at a time. But like, what happens when one item gets left behind in the crafter, right? Do you have a way to pull that item out? Might actually be able to do it with a hopper. So, as you'll see, as I'm explaining these ideas, they're quite fiddly, I think is the term we want to use. If you want to get multiple uses out of like a single crafter, right? If we jump through here and just look at the recipes and think about what the implementations are. So like, let's say you want to create axes, then you can change the material from diamond to iron. All of that stuff starts to get really fiddly, and there could be plenty of edge cases. So when you scale that thing up to sort of like a large level, it feels to me like you're going to need a heck of a lot of these if you want a sort of all-in-one crafting system. Now, it's hard for me to explain some of these concepts because I don't really use them a lot. I just tend to understand them. I've used them in the past, but I could be getting something wrong here. There is this pretty clever concept for laying out redstone that you don't see it that much anymore because it's more at the computer level than it is at like the sort of contraption level. But the idea is that each one of these goes to some sort of ingredient, right? Some sort of item you're going to give to your auto crafter. Let's just go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. If I can place the blocks in the correct place. And these lines of redstone, they're going to need repeaters because this thing is going to get big rather quick. Okay, but you have like redstone torches on top of here, which means that I'm also going to need a lever at the end of this redstone here. So like, if you want to create big crafting systems, you're going to want to sort of configure what items get to what location. So if you look at something like that, if you send this thing a pulse, right, you turn on 2 lines. If you send this one a pulse, you turn on 3. So you can sort of scale these in both directions, right? If you go further in that way, you can have more options. And if you go further this way, you get more options. Now, this level here is like, what's your crafting recipe? And this level here is like, what are the ingredients? Encoder, says JC Era. Yeah, exactly. Encoder. Now, I think to do that on a large scale that just encompasses everything through this simple concept must be incredibly difficult because there are so many variables. I'm not really sure how you control variables as well, like which order do these things go in. I've got a message highlighted in chat. What's this? A Mojang dev responded with this message on Twitter someone asking for the crafter recipe 45 minutes ago. My view, and I'm welcome to others to share thoughts. What I want it to be, to not be super expensive. I want players to make and use many of them. Like they currently use pistons and dispensers. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, sure. As I said earlier, I think the making it cheap is probably quite likely, like nothing too complicated. I suggested that maybe you make it with like a piston and a hopper and you put in a few things that you have to craft to get the crafter, right? But, you know, whatever they're going to make it, people are going to want to use a lot of them, so I think just making it easy is not the worst thing. King B-Dog said on a Discord you can use filter items and remove them with a hopper for a dynamic shape. Interesting. Okay, so we're talking again, like pick up on all the variables we're establishing here. This is why I think creating some sort of like it can auto craft anything will just be such an incredible project. So let's say it's like that, right? Got your hopper underneath. The thing is, your hopper is an item filter. So you know the whole setup with the item filter, right? What's the item here that we're... Let's just grab an ingot. An ingot's such a cool little crafting recipe item. So like you got your little setup here. So this thing is locked. You got, you know, that, and then you got your blocker items, right? So this thing is locked while you're crafting. You got a signal going in. So in go these things, right? But you set it up so that your other materials go into these slots because of the order you inject them. And then those go there, and then you feed those out, and then you're left with it like that. That's, yeah, that's sort of possible already, but King Dog's highlighting that. Good to know, because you might speculate and go, oh, can you do that? Can't you do that? Okay, I'm trying to piece together all these ideas for you. I hope you're sort of coming along for the ride. So, if the interface is toggled with the glass, I keep, like, losing track of what's in my inventory. Let's say we're doing the sword again, right? This is the setup inside of the crafter. Then, what you can do is have some droppers. Let's grab the droppers. So your droppers can point in like this. You might have seen this with brewing potions in the game at some point or another. So when you power all three of these at the same time, you create an order in which they flow in. So the first one can be an ingot, and it would end up there. The second one would be an ingot, and then the third one would be a stick. Now, if you wanted to get really clever with this, you might come up with a way to actually double dispense this. That's where things get a little trickier when it comes to encoding. But like, for a basic setup, for one purpose, you can do this, right? And then you can toggle the interface. So doing like one recipe is pretty straightforward. I think a lot of players are going to be able to figure this one out, right? It's when you start to do multiple things with it that it'll get tricky. So this mechanic that we discussed a moment ago enables us to sort of dynamically change the layout of these things. And there might be a way in which to hook up an encoder to that as well. There might be a way in which to tell these items below what order they should dispense in. But if you think about the sheer amount of recipes, if you want to create an all-in-one crafting thing, it is going to be one heck of a feat to encode all of that. And if you did, you'd probably have so many repeaters, there would just be like a fair bit of delay being created. And so some of the things that I think will be tricky in a universal encoder is, like, something like this is just two ingredients, they go in, they come out. Oh, I wonder if creating like a dye machine. Oh, okay, that's an interesting idea. In fact, now I'm getting this feeling like you could probably just flick through these recipes and like some ideas will pop into your head. Let's come back to the dye machine in a second. So what about the ones where like you need two ingredients? And like, how do you manipulate their shape from the encoder? Creating the all-in-one crafting machine is just going to be the most incredible, like, feat. And I'd be like really interested to see who comes up with it first, how big it is, and then with time, how it gets shrunk down, you know? Yeah, also, by the way, like, crafting recipes for fire rockets and things that aren't in here will work as well. So yeah, if there's a way... Do you know what? I think I know how this works now that I've had a little bit of time to think about it. You need to create a pulse. A sort of, like... Pulse of... not. Actually, no, there's a way this could break. Okay. Hang on, let me think. It's like iron block, right? You need 9 ingots. So you could pulse 9 times and then get, you know... I think what you're going to have to do... Okay, right, I'm jumping ahead of myself so often here. No, let me explain the problem, because I keep thinking I find a solution I don't. It's like, how many items are in the chest that lead into the crafter, right? So... if you've got exactly 9 in here, no problem. Let them drain in, fill it up. But what happens when you're left with 1 over and then you want to put something else into your chest? So the idea of having a simple, like, how many blocks do you have... Sorry. The idea of having a simple contraption in your base where you put in a material and it just crafts it in a 3x3 or a 2x2, it's going to have this weird issue where it sort of needs to count everything in your inventory, right? And then if there's a leftover, it needs to move that leftover out of the chain. I don't quite know how you would do that, but I would guess that you would probably do some sort of balancing with signal strength. Remember that we got decorated pots recently too. This might be helpful in a way. So maybe you filter them through a decorated pot, and you're grabbing the signal strength, and there's more fidelity, like there's more room for measurement, let's say. So you can kind of count when you're going to run out of 9, and when you do that, you then have to send the items through to the output chest. So you come back from your farm, you chuck in all of the iron ingots into this thing. Here's a good example, actually, because a stack, right? You throw in a stack, you're left over with 1. This contraption has to be able to do that and then put your 1 ingot that got left over off to the side as well. And the reason I think that could be a cool contraption is because there are multiple types of ingot. In fact, there's multiple recipes that just do 3x3. So, you know, bam. Okay, this is going on my ideas list, right? The 3x3, I think this might be doable for me if I put enough time into it. So, like, the 3x3 crafter and the 2x2 crafter. When this stuff comes out, I want to come up with some contraptions. I'm going to make a list today. So, I like the idea of creating a little automatic crafter for those things, basically. Who's with me, by the way? I'm waffling so much and saying so many things. Speed0516, thank you for 14 months. My head is spinning with ideas for 1.21. Same here, same with you. Same here. Thank you for your support, my dude. Olivia says, I'm with you. Good, good. Thanks for letting me know. Can items stack within the crafter? I think they did in that video. That is a great question because that makes everything really more difficult, doesn't it? Well, actually, no, they don't. Here's the thing. Let's watch the video, right? We see the GUI a little earlier on. Here we go. Here we go. Now, clearly, more than the right amount is being put in there. But not by the player. Not by a hopper or a dropper. Okay? Now, don't we see it again with the GUI around here somewhere? Let's watch. So they stack, right? But like in this scenario, they don't. I think it makes sense. If you feed the items in, they shouldn't stack. Because that makes everything like a real hassle. So all of that's been disabled, and then when the items flow in, they don't stack. That to me is the sort of behavior that makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, you're just creating so many problems for yourself. Great observation though, so you can put more items in. But yeah, okay, right, so we're going all over the place now with these ideas. I kind of just wanted to show you some of the things that would go into like a universal crafter of everything. Like a massive storage of items for which you need to send it the signal to say, I need one of that, one of this, and one of that. That's what this can do. But then sometimes you need like 2 or 3 of this. I don't know how you would encode that into the encoder. There's probably a way. But then you've also got to tell it what order these things go in. And maybe you have to send it to a different one of these because you need to block off some of the slots. But there is indeed a way. So if you can create a module that knows how to swap around the items that appear in here or whatever, then I think like this is the new what would be the phrase, like the Holy Grail. We have a new Minecraft Holy Grail now. Who will come up with the contraption that can craft anything in the game in one of these blocks at your request? That person becomes the Minecraft legend, or those people. That'll be the Holy Grail of all contraptions. And I think to do it in one means you have to have a hopper down below. And that's the same place that you take items out of this thing. Actually, it's not, is it? Because you can power it with redstone, it spits it out the front. And that'll probably be... do you know what? I don't even need that. That'll probably work with a container. So when you power it with redstone, it puts it in here. That's actually really great. So that thing can suck out items, but that makes so much sense, really, when you think about it, right? Like, in order to get this thing here, you have to power it, and then it goes straight out. Okay, so it probably is possible... And that will be the Holy Grail of Minecraft for the future. Scorn Ninja, thank you ever so much for subscribing, my dude. Sandy the Squirrel says, have you seen the option Carpet Auto Crafting Table and Carpet Auto Crafter Dropper with Carpet mod? Carpet Auto... No, wait, am I... I don't seem to have it here. Carpet auto crafting table. I don't seem to have that. Otherwise, you know. Cybot says one tricky thing is to craft things recursively. For example, to craft rails, first sticks need to be crafted out of planks. Okay, Cybot just leveled up the Holy Grail. We've got the Holy Grail 2.0 now. Like, and not only do you craft everything in the game through this one block, you have to do it with the minimal amount of base materials. Meaning that you don't store sticks because you store planks. That's an interesting concept, right? I did that the wrong way around. I was supposed to type sticks. That's a super interesting concept. That is a super interesting concept. So, like, you know, you can use bamboo to craft it. Wow. Okay, how else can we make the Holy Grail harder to obtain, chat? How can we make it harder to obtain? I like the idea of this being like a little meme image now. Like, the Holy Grail of Minecraft. This one block can craft anything per request. Must use the smallest amount of materials. I.e. planks are used to... Well, not even planks, right? I.e. logs are stored... Doing it the wrong way around. Logs are stored to make planks, and planks can then be turned into sticks. And then, how small can you make it? We would probably rule out firework variants, yeah. Oh, that was it. I had the idea for the dye machine. Okay, right. I'm going to nip to the loo, and when I get back, we're going to go into more specific uses that I think the average person is going to use this for, and then I'll explore some of my own ideas like the dye machine. Also, Penelope Sky, thank you so much for 14 months of support. Greatly appreciated. Hope you're enjoying the stream as we chat about 121. I'll be right back, peeps. I am back. Well, I'm back. Hey, 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 hey. Okay, I'm gonna drink some water. Thank you for the welcome backs. Greatly appreciated. I'm curious how this will affect the custom recipes we have at LPMT3. Well, the idea, that's a really good question actually. I might make a note of that. So the idea is that it will craft anything that the crafting table does. They probably thought about this. If you do it that way, if you don't put in any exceptions, then if you add a crafting recipe into the game, I'm pretty sure it will just be compatible with it, but it's worth finding out. Yeah, so the places where I think this thing is most commonly going to be used is at farms. So if we think about all the different farm types in the game, usually you get something from it or around it that you want to change up. So like here, we have bone meal, and quite often you bring bones. So having a little one of those blocks... do you know, I'm not going to place them around my worlds just because we're using a texture pack. But I'll give you a little bit of like an example. So like, you have this in your chain or whatever. You'd also need to then have a little clock to power it with redstone. But yeah, then you drop off bones and you don't stand around crafting for that farm. Maybe you find a way to like pump your... Maybe you build this next to your skeleton farm. You know, you could already make moss farms to get bone meal. But now the auto crafter will probably make those like way less common. Which again, that could actually be a little bit of a downside to it, is that is that certain things might become less common, like those moss farms that create bone meal. Because you could chain that bone meal into a farm like this, and it helps you automate stuff at a lower level. But now you're probably going to take the preferred route of using bone meal and auto-crafting that down. So, farm types. I'm just going to jump around the world because there's probably going to be some examples. Bamboo, you know, your bamboo farm can automatically craft the blocks. Maybe what we'll start to do is create balancers where we equally divide the amount of... I need a crafting bench again. So, you could create... Oh, okay. Now I'm getting an idea for a really weird contraption. Okay, so there's certain different types of bamboo block that you can craft, okay? And remember, if we can farm this, we can make that, and then we can end up making all the different variants, right? Because they all stem from that basic block. Is that correct? Or do you have to strip that? You can craft that. Yeah, okay, sorry, when I look at these recipes over here, they're sort of flipped in my mind. I'm trying to look at it the other way around. Because you're searching for the thing you're trying to make. I type in the wrong thing. Okay, so, every type of bamboo block... Should probably do it this way around. All of these can be made from this. So now, you can make a contraption that takes the bamboo from your farm and fills things up with them. And decorated pots might be really nice. Like, what if you always wanted a stack of everything? Okay, this I think is a really cool idea now. So, like, what item have we got in there? Regular bamboo, right? Sometimes they're going to use different materials. You can make sticks from that. But like chains, maybe you leave some iron over here. Storage could be very different in this game. Oh my god, I just realized this changes storage as well. Because if you have auto crafters pointing into your storage... So I'm going to use a decorated pot for now, but like, bear with me. So like, just, you know, it fills up the thirst thing with bamboo. Right? Now, when that's full, you can always come over here and grab a stack. If you want more than a stack, well, you can make it that many stacks, right? Or you could put a barrel there or a dropper or whatever. But it fills it up. Okay. Then it moves on to the next one. This is where we got an auto crafter in the chain now, right? This sometimes might be really simple because it's just going to do this. It will need a clock, so I think having these things one wide is probably not very likely. But then the next thing it's going to do is it's going to fill that up for you. So now your farms are going to basically make all the blocks for you as well, I think, is what we're going to see happen. So go to bamboo. You know, then we put the next one on or whatever, right? So behind our storage, we're going to have like this chain of these auto crafters. They're going to have, you know, their recipe structure and stuff configured. They're going to have a clock to activate them when items are coming in. And then they're going to feed them into this. So then you come over here and, you know, depending on how you want to do it, just pull what you need out of the chest. Now, if this were part of your storage system and you wanted those items to go back to this chest, then I think the level of complexity, again, can go through the roof. For me, I'd be happy with having a farm that has this contraption in it. And it allows me to take out all the different items. Oh, this is crazy. This is crazy right here. I'm going to write this one down. So, we're going to call this a farm crafter. Bamboo. I'll come up with a better name. So now your bamboo farm makes all the things you could want from it and just puts them right in front of them. Right in front of you. How are you taking items out of the pot? With your hand. I guess you'd have to do it with your hand. But if you open the chest, obviously you could just take one out at a time. And then maybe you put droppers here because you only want 9 stacks. It's up to you how much. You could have double hopper and then you can put hoppers on it. So if this thing is running indefinitely, you could then use it to store a heck of a lot of different materials. that could be immense. Like, this could really take a lot more crafting that you do manually out of the game. Something like a sheep farm, you could just have a refilling mechanism for your shears, because you can have that chest full of iron and craft up your... Yeah, you can even put an iron farm on top of your sheep farm if you want infinite shears. So that you know, that's one where I feel like, yeah, every now and then you go and restock it. It's not the biggest thing, but probably having a double chest full of iron above your sheep farm, and then having the auto crafter feed in the shears, that's really straightforward. So that's probably a thing you're gonna do. Industrial districts are really going to be cool now. Imagine a bamboo, iron, and raid farm, redstone, all are relatively close together. Yeah, you're going to have reasons to basically look at something you want, and it probably needs to be something farmable, like you want a lot of it, and then you think about all the ingredients in terms of farms. What's something we would want a lot of? Like maybe, glass comes from sand, so maybe not that. What's going to require like a combination? So like blaze and slime is not, because nether and overworld, not really quite there. Hoppers, pistons. Okay, so yeah. I was thinking about flicking through for the material, right? But if we go and use stuff like this that's more functional, yeah, you are absolutely, you know, so your witch farm gives you your redstone, and then you go and craft your other things. So having a witch farm near a slime farm for sticky pistons, but if we think about the recipe of the piston, put it in here. Cobble generator, iron farm, wood farm, which might mean a source of bone meal, and witch farm, and then automatic piston crafting. Again, probably going to use a system like this. So it's actually the same concept as this, right? You want to automatically craft the things from your farm and have them stored, and then it just fills them up, and then the overflow you can do what you want with. But then you can introduce a complexity where you're like, okay, but I want to craft multiple things, you know? I want to craft stuff that needs multiple farms. So then you can think, what do I want? What do I want to come here and grab? I want to get my dispensers, my droppers. So we get to look at Minecraft in a different way now. Like, combining farms in the past was kind of fun. I remember I made, like, the chunk of death in Season 5, which was a slime chunk with cave spider spawners, some other stuff. Like, I mixed, like, 3 or 4 different mob farms into one, and then you just got tons of items out of it. But now you can look at it and go, what can I craft with those items, right? Which is pretty insane. This is actually, you know, it's like, it's really obvious, but the more you think about it, you're gonna... Aspects of the technical game are just gonna get played differently now. Kelp farm. Obviously you can craft kelp blocks, but kelp blocks are fuel. So then you can have automatic fuel furnaces. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna write down another note. Right, I'm taking quite a few notes from this. What's going on here? What block is that? Light blue glazed terracotta. Cool. Cool. So what other farms do we have in this game? Mob farms. You know, you can use your your spiders to get wool because you can autocraft the string. So yeah, I think what we're doing at the moment is just pointing out some like really obvious stuff in all the different situations it can be used for. Tree farm OP. Yeah, bone meal feeding into a tree farm. Tree farm can then craft all the different ingredients. Automatic golden carrot crafting. So you have a villager farm next to your gold farm. So that's the whole comboing farms thing, right? You decide you want loads of golden carrots. Now you combo 2 farms together. Guardian farms, yeah, you know, all the drops can automatically get crafted. You can automatically craft your dripstone into dripstone blocks. Yeah, at your gold farm, because this is a gold farm design here, you can turn the nuggets into ingots, then maybe the ingots into gold blocks. All the sort of stuff we've already discussed, just different farms and locations. Should the autocrafter be a late game item? What if its recipe requires a netherite block, for example? Should it be a late game item? No. Well, they're not going to. I don't think it should be late game. I think so many people want to use it, and you're probably going to use it large scale, so... I just got so much going on in my head right now. I'm just realizing how big this is if you want to choose to interact with it. But yeah, I think like flower farms. Okay, so I had this idea for dyes earlier, and I think the thing that we just looked at is probably a good way to think about it. So if I go grab a few dyes, don't want to get crazy with this, just a few of them. And like we saw before, okay, now imagine that's the full spectrum of the different dyes in this game, right? Again, if you sort of use hoppers and auto crafters, and you have it sort of back balance, if that is a thing that makes sense, sort of like once it's filled up, it will stop. Okay, so again, this can be a stack of each, or it can be a dropper for 9, or it can be a chest for 27. Probably does make more sense to show this with chests. Yeah, let's think. So somewhere up the top, you've got to put in all your dyes, and then this thing sort of reconfigures them. So you can put in raw lapis. You can put in your bones, and it gets turned into bone meal and into white dye. This will require like a lot of planning, because if you put in bones, I guess actually maybe not so much, because they share this commonality in a crafting bench where you can put one item in and get out the dye. So actually, you can have like a raw items chest. In goes that. It needs to know to do that twice. So that might be a little exception you have to program. And that goes through once. I mean, there might be a way or an option to sort of, let's say, okay, this is super interesting. You put in your item, right? This hopper is locked. When you power that, you unlock this. So, for example, when blue dye goes in, and it's inside this thing, it doesn't craft it into anything. So you power it with redstone, it didn't produce what you want, and then it goes into the hopper below. So if we imagine this container here, like, you have successful items coming through here and non-successful through there, but they end up in the same place, right? You put a double chest down below. So you can input your raw materials, and if they don't successfully craft, they can continue through your chain to like wherever the end product is. So let's get the crafting bench. Let's type in dye. So flowers can go through here. Yep, flowers is often right. Ink sacks, orchids, lots of flowers. Okay, now orange is an interesting one because isn't there a flower as well? Okay. Right, so you put them through this first phase where your raw materials become the dyes. And then, further down the line, I feel like I'm missing something. Further down the line, you want to make something like orange. Now, if orange comes through, that's fine. You got orange in your chest. You need to like, on one hand, filter them into each of these, and on the other hand, move out what's remaining to craft other variants, right? So let's say we dump a bunch of yellow and red flowers in, and they get filtered to their storage spot where we got red and yellow, but we got some left over. Like, how does the contraption know to turn the leftover ones into orange? Does that make sense? This, I can quickly see something like this actually being like a tangle of redstone. It's nice to think of things, you know, being able to be like uniform and one by one, but I could see this actually being a contraption where you got this neat row of 16 dies at the front, but then behind it just an absolute mess of redstone, right? It's going to be a game changer for crafting with unstackables, says Armageddon. For crafting with unstackables. What does that mean, crafting with unstackables? Some unstacked? Do you mean like that? I don't understand how that revolutionizes it. Dispensers, some of you are saying. Oh, like bows and dispensers, unstackables. Oh, you just mean the ones where you can't shift in 64. Right, yeah. No, yeah, they will be killer for that. They will. You just automate that. Everyone's going to want a dispenser maker. Yeah, for sure. Interesting. Dispensers are a pain to autocraft, so autocraft will become awesome. Yeah, they will. God, I need to. I want to write down more notes right now. This is crazy. What have we said so far? Like, I've had this idea of the 3x3 and the 2x2, but really, it's gonna be like crafting things that come out of farms, comboing farms to make, like, you know, pistons, for example. We're going to want to use dispensers. Honey blocks. Okay, so like a honey farm. I'm going to write that one down. Can recycle its own bottles. Okay. So you know how you use a honey bottle. Or sorry, an empty bottle on a beehive. And then you get a honey bottle out of it when it's full. You can then take 4 of these, auto-craft it into the honey block. And then the bottle can go back to the beehive. Player gear or minigames, says 4MBL. Yes, but that's like less of a big deal, I think, because you could already do that. It's just now maybe a bit simpler to like stock up, because you can just feed, you know, your raw material, your iron, and it can craft you lots and lots of chest plates. But it's like it wasn't the biggest hassle to do that to begin with. What will the average player use them for? The amount of setup needed is simply not worthwhile. In modded, like AE2, refined storage, RF tools, you can specify multiple recipes to do it quickly and with a simple GUI. From what I've seen, this is slow and single recipe controlled by redstone. Even something like a lectern only holds up to 15 recipes, and that's enormously bulky, says Fleeting Dream. I think you're missing on what it can do, more so. I don't know, like, to me, it's going to be really useful. Like we just said with the honey bottle one, right? Like, we don't need it to be a terminal that we open up and just craft everything on demand. Where are the applications we're most likely to use it? It seems to me like farms is a big one. I reckon though something like what I showed you over here, for certain farms could be really great because they could be simple, right? Whereas something like with the dyeing over here, unless, you know, I'm not the best at this stuff. I'm just sort of thinking my way through it a little bit. We've kind of established, yeah, you can put in raw materials, and if it doesn't successfully grab a raw material, it can actually bypass it, which is kind of cool. I want to write that on my little list too. I think the average person could use it on their iron farm to turn ingots into blocks. That's basically it, isn't it? Like, you're going to use it like that. And maybe sometimes the recipe is a little more complicated. But then as we get advanced, then we'll be using it at like witch farms to make redstone blocks. But you've also got like another farm there, and you bring those items together and you make your pistons. Okay, so like there's layers to this. Average players can use it, and then things can get more complicated. But then, like, I think there's going to be uses like this, where if you want to do something complicated for a challenge, you can do it. I really like this. You know, go and put your flowers from your flower farm into one chest because you wanted to turn them into dyes anyway, and it'll do the rest for you. But as for how you balance this and get it, you know, I can understand how you let like red dye fill this chest, and then your leftover gets used to make orange once the yellow chest is filled up. But I still can't quite picture how you would make that happen without a lot of item filtering. And once you start filtering items like midway through the chain, you're just going to end up with like a balloon of a contraption going all over the place. Can it be integrated with brewing? Let's think about that. So we want to think about brewing ingredients. Now, if I think back to the Season 7 brewer that we made. Got me thinking now. I had a massive chain of ingredients going in, and I pre-crafted them. I think it would just be a case of like sugar would be shared with the place where you make the fermented spider eye, right? So, not too many. There is a potions tab somewhere, isn't there? Ingredients has potions in. Food and drink. Which one? Here it is. Does this one? No, ingredients has it. We'll see them clumped together. So yeah, like you can use sugar. I think you use sugar with spider eye, is it? Or is it just mushroom and spider eye and sugar? Melons and gold. You know what? I don't see actually a crazy amount of overlap. Unless you want to be super lazy and just drop off gold, right? And drop off melons and carrots and let it do the rest, then yeah. The only overlap I see is sugar gets shared with how you create fermented spider eyes. So maybe not with potions. Maybe there isn't a lot of need for auto crafting there. But this is another good way to look at it. Just if we look at the raw materials and think about what each of them offer. Can make leather armor. Can't make netherite armor with it. Could use these, I mean, to make decorated pots. Doesn't feel like there's anything interesting that comes out of that. To make a cake crafter, right, you'd need the player right-clicking on a cow with lots of buckets to get milk, so they'd need like a full inventory, so it'd be a player-involved crafting setup, but you could do cakes. That's a good question. What happens to milk buckets when they get emptied? I'm writing that one down. What will be the best furnace fuel array now? Dried kelp block? Yeah, pretty much. That's another thing to go on my list. Pumpkin pie farm, let's go. That sounds good. Maybe they get hoppered out as well. Who knows? We're getting some more notes. Oh, that's literally... Okay, that note is the thing that I said a second ago. Bricks, automatic copper maker. Yeah, is there anything here we haven't really, like... I feel like we've maybe actually touched on most of it. I'm seeing a lot of stuff as I flick through here that's quite specific. What about these blocks? The lamps you get directly. Like, you might want to craft a lot of these automatically because you make them anyway. I think we might see some simple setups where you have like a chest for sticks and coal, and then it filters them in, and you know, and it feeds it into a chest that has torches, but there's always, you know, like, it's always full. I don't know if the player's going to want to go through that sort of level of effort just to get torches. But with really common items, you can imagine building a little setup to automate the crafting. It might just be easier to take your iron from your iron farm and dump it into your chain maker. And this could speak a lot to players like styles. If you're a builder you now might be a bit more incentivized to auto-craft some of the materials that you use a lot, whereas a redstoner might not be thinking about, oh, I always build with this palette of blocks that I can auto-craft, right? Could dyeing stuff be like an interesting one? Like, you could have a dyeing machine where you put terracotta in, or you put in your wall blocks. Actually, that's a Vanilla Tweaks thing. Like a concrete color picker, maybe? So you feed it some dye, and it's already got the sand and gravel. That sounds like a use case. Okay. This is fascinating to look into. Glass dyer? Yeah, I could see that working. And based on how the recipe works, like, you put in a shulker box and the dye and it crafts it. Same for the bed. Like, there might be a little bit of universality for coloured stuff where, let's go look at the crafter. So when we type in, like, orange, I think I might not have all the crafting recipes, by the way. Recipe, unlock, Xisuma, star. No new recipes learned. So when I type in orange, I should see all of the... Maybe they are all there. Like, that works the same... No, it doesn't work the same as the bed, unless you have the dye the bed data pack. I think that might be one of these Vanilla Tweaks data packs. There you go, and that can go in the first slot. That one has to go in the middle, though. Interesting. The other one is shapeless. In fact, is that shapeless? I guess you wouldn't probably use them the same way at that point. Because you want this thing to go in the middle. So you could put 4 sand in, dye 4 gravel, or 4 glass, dye 4 glass. Yeah, it's a shapeless one, but again, it's probably doable that you can create a contraption where you put in the item and it dyes it for you, but then the complexity of that contraption will get really big because if you try and incorporate everything, all these variables emerge. But this is cool, I think, because if people want to do it, and maybe they figure out ways to compact it, we could start having, maybe we see contraptions like the dyeing machine. You can walk up to it. It's got maybe some item frames of like, hey, beds, terracotta, glass, concrete. It can dye them for you. It just reminds you. So you go, all right, I want concrete. You press the concrete button. It's going to put sand and gravel in when you put in some dye. So you put in 10 dye and it puts all the other ones. I don't know. I can now see some issues with like, then you've got to keep it stocked with sand and gravel. And then you might have to flick levers and switches to put it in different modes. There'll be use cases where the variables are just right and something really cool will emerge from that. And then there will be probably some real head scratchers that are difficult to implement and too bulky and awkward to use. But yeah, there's definitely some stuff we can do with this. Okay, so you remember the farm thing over here? With how a farm could just have like all of this hooked up to it. Now you don't have to have a cobble generator farm because you know you tend to accumulate a lot of that anyway. So if you had a contraption designed for crafting all the different variants, then you dump in your cobblestone, and then in that part of your base you've just got this little line of every cobblestone variant already crafted because you dumped in a whole chest full of that. And then it made 9 stacks of this, 9 stacks of that, 9 stacks of those. And then the rest is like surplus just waiting in the storage behind. Okay, so much to think about. Now, if there's some universality here where it's like, what if I put stone in and it doesn't have the same amount of variables, but what if the contraption can understand that? I guess because it's tied into the storage, you would build it per use case each time. So that might mean that you have like multiple. So if you want to go for this approach, like you have one design for cobblestone, one design for stone bricks because there's those other ones, and maybe you incorporate the use of vines. You can really go wild with this wherever you want. I think the way we're going to play 1.21 as we get to grips with this stuff is you're sort of going to be playing the normal game, but you know that auto crafting is going to be useful. And I think when it comes to building farms, you're going to look at them differently because you know you can automate some of what comes out of it. So it might mean that, you know, you're going to build this one type of farm, but then you're going to put that bamboo farm next to it because then you can automate the thing that you want from it. Right? So if you've got farms that you mix with other farms because you use them to craft, you have an incentive to bring those together. So that's a big and obvious one. But then I think we get to look at our workflow and we get to see, okay, like I store these materials here, I use them a lot in my base. I can make things easier for myself with a little auto crafter to give me all of the different variations of the block that I like. I can see that one coming into the game. But I think things like the dyeing machine, they might be a bit more novel. But if you want to get stuck in with redstone, 1.21 is going to do it. I feel like there's a whole new reason to do redstoning again, basically. I think our auto craft to save space into shulker loaders will be good. That's an interesting idea, hooking it up to a shulker loader, yeah. I mean, the idea I just showed you could be sort of infinite then. Wow. There's a revolution that's about to happen with redstone, peeps. Stick around. 1.21 is going to change the game. Yeah. Right, I'm going to wrap up my stream here. I think we basically turned over most of what we need to know about this. Is that someone? I thought there was someone up there. Flying around behind me. Yeah, we've pretty much turned over, I think, most of what there is to know about this for now. And it's going to be a very interesting thing to watch moving forwards. Thank you everyone for tuning in, by the way. Hit the follow button if you enjoyed the stream. I might stream again tomorrow, by the way. And I'll send you over to Iskal today. I'm just looking for someone to raid. So, big thank you to everyone for supporting me, as always. Thanks to the mods for helping out in chat as well. Y'all are appreciated. I'm going to go send you over to Iskal and enjoy a little bit of a wind down from the stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And yeah, see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.